Oh, no.
No, it's just you. Okay. Good evening. My name is Peggy Kell, and I'm with a voter service chair for the Oak Park River Forest League of Women Voters. Tonight, we will be holding a candidate forum for the contested April 1 Proviso Township District 209 High School Board Municipal Election. There are 8 candidates running for 4 open seats. A recording of this evening will be posted on our website at lwvoprf.org and on the library's website for later viewing by voters. The league does not endorse candidates, but does believe that voters should hear from those that are running to represent them. You'll be able to submit questions during this forum via our email, lwvoprf.org. I'm sorry, lwvoprf1924 at gmail.com. You may submit questions during the chat using the chat function. We will be very vigilant to make sure that the chat function is only used for questions. If it does get out of hand, we will close down the chat. The Forest Park Library is our valued partner in this forum, and thanks to Martha Sullivan for all her help with the scheduling and technology for this event, and Martha will be our timer tonight. Candidates will start with opening statements of 1 minute, followed by questions for all, and finishing with 1 minute closing statements. We will start in alphabetical order and then rotate through candidates. The 4 candidates that are participating tonight are Will Fisher, Nicole Molinaro, Rolandra Morris, and Ebony Smith. So we're going to start off with Ebony. You're going to have opening statement first. And then Martha will start the timer box.
Hello, thank you for having us. My name is Ebony Nikki Smith. I was born and raised in Bellwood, where my family has lived for over 40 years. I have a bachelor's degree in political science. I have a master's degree in public policy. Professionally, I am a grants and contracts administrator. I have been negotiating contracts for over 20 years from Fortune 500 companies to small startups. I am also a big community member. I am a part of the Memorial Park Spartan cheerleaders team, and I am the director of scholastics. Thank you.
Thank you. Rolanda, you're next. She'll clear the timer. There you go.
Hi, my name is Rolandra Morris, and I am a candidate for the Proviso 209 School Board. My background is in mortgage and finance. I've been in the industry for over 20 years. I'm a parent of a current Proviso West student and another student coming along in a few years. I'm a huge advocate for the students in the community and at both school districts. My background also includes being a small business owner. So I do own a small business that I manage solely by myself. And also, I'm excited about this opportunity and what it's going to bring and how I can take the skills I've obtained over the last 20 years in finance and bring it to our school board. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Nicole, you're next.
Hi, I'm Nicole Molly B. Molinaro. I am a parent of a 6-year-old, and I am running with Proviso 209 School Board to share my gifts with the community. I had a career in commercial insurance underwriting for nearly 20 years, and I pivoted during the pandemic and began school at Triton College, of which I will be graduating in May with a horticulture degree. I also tutor at Triton as well as work in Maywood as a garden coordinator. And I believe public education is a right, not a privilege, which is why I am running. I am a community organizer as well as a coalition builder around civic and ecological practices. And I'm looking forward to this forum today, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Will, you're next.
Thank you. Howdy, my name is Will Fisher, and I'm running for the Proviso School Board because I believe our students deserve safe schools, smart decisions rooted in data, and strong preparation for the future of work. I'm a Forest Park parent, an immigrant, a former teacher, and now a research scientist with the National Opinion Research Center at the University of Chicago, and I work to improve schools across the country. I encourage you to Google me if you want to read how I help students and schools nationwide. I bring both lived experience and professional expertise to this role, grounded in collaboration, transparency, and accountability. I believe in using data-driven best practices to guide our policies, and I'm committed to expanding opportunities that prepare students for high-growth careers such as healthcare, technology, and green jobs. Most importantly, I want every student to feel safe, supported, and ready to thrive, not just in school, but in life. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our first question, Rolanda, you will start the first question. And again, if you ever want me to repeat a question, after 4 people, sometimes you lose sight of it, just ask and I will repeat the question. According to the Illinois report card, Proviso has a truancy rate of about 58%. What should the school district be doing to get this percentage down?
That's a great question. With a student that is currently in the Proviso schools, I definitely see it every time I'm there with the truancy and the late starting of several students. So I definitely feel this is where our community engagement and our parents coming together with the schools plays a big part. Currently, our current superintendent is doing a great job with accountability and reaching out to parents. He implemented something called the bag report. So every week, as parents, we get a notification letting us know where our kids are at, if they've been tardy, if they've been absent, and if they have too many absences, he's reaching out. Well, the administration is reaching out. So I think we need to continue to give him the supports he needs to keep implementing proven practices, and then we need to evaluate those and make sure they're being effective.
Thank you. Nicole?
Hi, I agree. It comes down to accountability and the policies that we have in place. We need to connect with our students and figure out the reasons why they are not coming to school. Are they not getting the needs that their needs met, which is why they're not coming to school. I do agree that the superintendent has done a great job of putting policies in place and holding students and staff accountable towards these new procedures, and they've gone over quite well from what I'm hearing. So we need to continue on and evaluate the policies in place and making sure that all 3 districts or all 3 schools are implementing these policies that we have in place to address our truancy.
Thank you. Will?
Howdy. Yes. So echoing Nicole and Rolandra, the new superintendent Mohib is doing a lot of good work in regards to communicating with parents, but also holding students accountable in their truancy. And so first off, I believe in supporting him in what he's doing and implementing those his bag policies throughout all 3 schools, but further communicate with him to see what needs to be altered or changed, because certain circumstances, such as Nicole said, we need to investigate the why for students, and so can't be a one-size-all-fits policy. So there needs to be some flexibility within that, and further evaluate the strategies over time to see what worked, what didn't, and how we can improve for for next school year. Thank you.
Thank you. Ebony?
I want to echo what my friends have said. I agree. I think Mohib has done an amazing job holding students accountable. Also, I think that early prevention is key. I think we can't wait to day 30 to figure out what's going on with students. So I think, once you start to see an excessive pattern of kids not coming to school, I think you have to communicate with the students' families, figure out what's going on and how we can help, figure out what they need. We can't have a one-size-fits-all approach. I think, like I said, communication and early prevention is key.
Thank you. This next question, Nicole, you'll start it off. How will you ensure that the district's budget is used effectively to benefit students and teachers?
Well, identifying what the needs are, if there's any gaps, and helping figure out how to bridge those gaps appropriately. Um, talking to parents and students and teachers and ensuring that they have what they need, but then also that we have, you know, the materials, but also, that the materials are right and they're appropriate for uh, the district. Um, as far as budget, I know that historically I've heard that the administrative salaries have been very high in comparison to our partnering or surrounding districts. And so making sure that we have the resources where they need to be for our student services that support them first, and having those policies in place to evaluate the budget appropriately.
Thank you. Will?
Howdy, yes. Thank you for the question. So, in regards to the budget, I think in particularly with the federal hope to decrease funds in education nationwide, there's going to be particularly difficult challenges that the school district is going to face next year that it didn't have to face this year, as well as the lack of or COVID funds running out. So keeping all of those things in mind, um, ensuring that the budget is effective is trying to figure out what can we do most efficiently and effectively, but also recognizing that there are going to be gaps and trying to find the best way to supplement those gaps or mitigate those gaps using state grants and other philanthropic grants for the students and teachers. Thank you.
Thank you. Ebony?
I think the first step is to look at the budget and see what we actually have. I think once we do that, then we need to we need to review everything. We need to review all the contracts. We need to review positions. We need to review policies. We need to review contracts, and see exactly what we have. Sometimes you can renegotiate contracts so that you can eliminate wasteful spending. And then sometimes we have to look at these programs. We can't consistently roll out a program, which District 209 continuously does. They roll out programs and then they don't evaluate these programs to see if they're working for the students, if they're working for the teachers. I think that's one of the things that we need to do first. Figure out what's working, what's not working, and then reallocate resources, eliminate wasteful spending, and then renegotiate contracts.
Thank you. Rolanda? Sorry, Rolandra.
That's okay, but thank you.
Right.
I agree with my friends. We definitely have to look at the budget line by line. Currently, a board member, David Okampo, he's doing an amazing job with the finance committee and looking at our budget. And we need to continue with doing a deep dive. We can't do things like pay for people to review what we're doing and then not use the recommendations. We need to take the data that we receive and implement it and look further into how we keep moving. Each and every program needs to be looked at. If it's not every 6 months, but at least every year, we need to make sure with the things happening, in the federal government, we have to be prepared for whatever is coming our way. So it's taking the time to actually review and analyze and pivot if needed.
Thank you. Will, you're going to start this next question first. Per information from the Forest Park Review, the district reportedly lost $4.9 million due to wire fraud. What do you know about this happening, and what measures can be put in place to prevent such financial losses in the future? What additional steps should the district take to improve financial oversight and accountability?
Thank you. Great question. So from what I understand, and I'm not going to claim claim that I understand the entire scope, is that it was the result of phishing attempt to some extent, and most of the funds have been recovered. However, the fact that it occurred at all means there needs to be policies either reviewed, which, from what I understand, following the loss, software training, phishing attempt training, email trainings have been reviewed and implemented. So to make sure that those are not only reviewed, but those trainings are actually carried out, that everyone goes through those trainings as necessary, and ensure that our firewall prevents any other phishing attempts from occurring. Thank you.
Thank you. Ebony?
Yes, to Will's point, what I understand is that most of those funds have been recovered, and we do have insurance that covers those type of events. But also, like Will said, I think ongoing phishing training should is needed every 6 months, once a year. And also in my job, sometimes they just throw out phishing attempts. It's internal, but they just throw out ad hoc phishing attempts to see if someone would click on that. And I thought that was awesome, because that's kind of getting you in the mode to kind of look for those type phishing attempts. So I think that would be a great recommendation for the district, is not only provide training, but also internally send those out just to see if someone needs additional training, if they do hit the button when they shouldn't have, and go from there. I think, this isn't just an issue for education, but it's an issue for corporations as well. And then we have a great CFO who's doing an amazing job. She updated a lot of her policies and procedures in order to prevent phishing attempts.
Thank you. Rolandra?
With a background in finance and banking, we receive a lot of training on this particular topic, and I think some of that could possibly even be implemented within the business department. Our Dr. Hill does an amazing job with training and helping protect the finance department and the business department, but I definitely think we can increase those phishing emails and attempts. Well, not increase the phishing emails, but put out trainings for those type of emails and malware and things, various different things. I know in the banking industry, we do a lot of it. And when you click the email and it was an error, you have to immediately go to a training. Like everything shuts down for you, you have to go to a training. So those are things that we can implement within the district. The business department, I feel, should do it more, but at the same time, in district-wide, everyone should get that training.
Thank you. Nicole?
Yes, making sure that we have the right insurance coverage in place to, be able to recoup funds if this event does occur. But not only training for staff and admin, but also for our students. At Triton College, we have the same, right? We get sent these phishing emails, and you do, right? You click the bad link, and then you go immediately into a training. So it's on top of the standard training that we have on a regular basis every 6 months. And then if you do click on one of these emails, then you need additional training. So having that not only for staff and teachers and students, like the whole scope of the district needs that training, and also making sure that we have our firewall in place and all of the technology that can be possibly updated to help software that prevention. We need to look at that also to protect our assets from any of these events occurring again.
Thank you. Ebony, you'll start this next question first. Many students enter high school below grade level. What specific actions would you support to collaborate with primary schools to ensure students are better prepared before they reach high school?
The superintendent Mohib, we just had a conversation about this at a town hall. He stresses the importance of working with theater school superintendents. He has existing relationships with all of the superintendents of the elementary schools in this area, and he wants to work with them. He wants to work with them from a curriculum standpoint and just from a communication standpoint. You know, a lot of the issues that we face in high school could be resolved in elementary school if people would just work, if the administrators, if the community, if the parents would just work together. And that's something that he's strongly committed to. Like I said, he has existing relationships with the elementary school superintendents. And I think this is a great step in the right direction. Now we'll start seeing communication. If there's a lack, then we can kind of eliminate some of those lacks before they get to high school.
Thank you. Rolandra?
Currently, I'm a parent in one of the feeder schools and in Proviso. And I had the opportunity when I was just doing a pop-up at one of the feeder schools recently. I learned that MOHIP is already reaching out to the feeder schools. Actually, I was talking to one of the curriculum administrators when I was there, and they're doing exactly what I wish we were doing already. They had a meeting scheduled so that each department can work with the departments within Proviso to see where the students need to be and to make sure they're teaching according to what Proviso is expecting for them to be ready for, so that they're not duplicating. One example is if the kids have read Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet in grade school, you would hate for them to come in their freshman year and do that again when they've already done it. So making sure they're communicating is the key.
Thank you. Nicole?
Yes, as a child, I moved districts in grade school. And so I was far behind in math in my new district, and I had a peer friend help catch me up. I also failed an English class in high school, and now I'm in, a writing tutor. So we really need to and as a parent of a kindergartner, I know the importance of this foundational education in our feeder schools, because these behaviors and skills that we teach in K through 8 go into our high school district. So it's important to connect with those schools. It's important to engage in more peer mentoring and support services, identifying IEPs early, and ensuring that we're meeting each student where they are, and finding out what their needs are in an earlier intervention period.
Thank you. Will?
Yes. With the current superintendent MOHIP, what he's doing, I think, is great. Communicating and collaborating with the feeder districts and working. I think that working together to make a smooth transition for students coming into the Proviso High School District is great. And I think one of the most interesting things that we have the ability to do is look at data at the high school, see, for example, take the end of the year, we can see what specific subject matters, but also what specific pieces within the curricula, and adjust lesson plans for grades way earlier to when the high schools and the feeder schools are communicating, letting them know, like, hey, we're seeing concerns here, we're seeing problems here, we need them to be prepared for here. And the teachers and admin can work together to ensure that smooth transition and for students to succeed in the high school.
Thank you. Rolandra, you're going to get this next question first. With the national mental health crisis being reported for the ages of 12 to 18, what additional support can your schools supply to these young people? Are there changes that need to be made for any current support models?
Well, we need to put some things in place. That's just the reality. It's scary. Just thinking about the mental health concerns that's happening in our community. The one great thing I love about our team is we have someone on our team, Nicole, who is mental health trained. That is definitely a plus because she can give us some ideas that we can implement. While it's not my specialty, but I know that we need to reach out to the experts. and get their feedback and their knowledge and experience to guide us. We need to figure out how we can collaborate with the parents and the community to give the supports to our students and their families as they're navigating this very difficult time of their lives.
Thank you. Nicole?
Yes, I am mental health first aid trained, and Proviso Township also has a mental health commission, and we should be engaging into those township resources, as well as offering more social workers within our school districts to help. We should have professional training and be trauma informed and have these very important and critical conversations during these years. Um, Post pandemic, a lot of us, we all encountered a trauma, and we need to figure out how we move forward and heal together as a community. And I think that we need the resources that we have to be accessible and available to all. And then we need to talk about these resources and how we get them to parents, students, teachers, and administration.
Thank you. Will?
Yes, echoing my friends here, utilizing the resources that we have available within the township, but also using research to understand best practices and current modern research for equitable solutions within our unique population of students, right? When it comes to mental health, emotional health, social emotional learning, even spiritual health, our population is unique, and we need to be very mindful about using specific techniques or utilizing resources that will benefit our population specifically rather than a one-size-fits-all band-aid in regards to mental health. Thank you.
Thank you. Ebony?
We need to train support and staff. They need to be trained for early intervention. We need a comprehensive mental health program that includes everyone from the staff, the community. We need to review some of our resources. We need to have collaborations with mental health counselors, so referrals are not necessarily needed. I just think that if everyone does their part, we can create steps to have a comprehensive mental health program, and it takes everyone's collaboration.
Thank you. Nicole, you'll start this next question off. About $500,000 was spent on educational epiphany flashcards, but they didn't seem to be widely used or effective. Can you help clarify what happened with these funds, and or how can the district ensure that future educational purchases are both necessary and beneficial to students?
I attended the board meeting where these educational flashcards were approved. I am not going to get into the weeds of the why. What we need to do is engage our teachers in the curriculum and not buy curriculum resources that teachers are not going to use. So I know at the recent board meeting, teachers were involved in picking the books that they were looking to purchase and approve at this last board meeting. And we need to have protocol and policies in place before we make a $500,000 purchase to ensure that these are the right resources for our students. So it's very important to engage our teachers and make sure that they are teaching, what our students need to learn, and not off of flashcards that nobody has used since they've been purchased.
Thank you. Will?
Yes, as a former teacher myself, I believe that classroom teachers are the experts in how best to teach their classroom, utilizing their strengths, their knowledge, their skill set into understanding what resources they need specifically. Currently, I actually work in curriculum and program evaluation. So we work closely with teachers to implement curriculum programs all over the country and use their feedback as to how to better improve or by enhancing specific spots with it, or what things to take away and how to evaluate the effectiveness of these programs. So I would use what I do for work and within the research process and talk to teachers and if possible talk to students about what's effective and what helps them learn the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Ebony?
I think we need to use the data to identify the gaps. I think we should do that first, and then it would consist of a strong working relationship between the superintendent and the teachers. The teachers should work with the superintendent and let them know what's needed. We can't take a one-size-fits-all approach, but we have to figure out what the student needs are and go from there. I think that's something that should happen at the teachers level and the superintendent level, and then also look at best practices. When we're identifying different resources, I think it has to be agreed upon. Everyone has to agree on that, and not just a superintendent. It takes everyone's vote in order to identify what's needed for the students.
Thank you. Rolandra?
I found it really troubling that we spent that much money on flashcards that wasn't actually used. And we need to start evaluating the programs, reaching out to the teachers and seeing what they actually want. How do they maintain or work in their classroom? What works best for them? And then evaluate it. And not only that, I think we need to evaluate those programs beforehand. Before we even bring things to the teachers, I think that there should be something in place to look at those various programs. You know, I sit at board meetings and people come pitch things to the board of different things that they offer and they want to bring forth. We need to do a deep dive. Where are these people coming from? Why are they wanting us to buy their program? Is their program effective? Is there any data that shows their program will help our kids? It may help another district, but it may not help our kids. So we need to reach out to the teachers and get their input and their feedback.
Thank you. Will, you'll start this next question. As a board member, what priorities would you be pursuing and initiating if elected?
Thank you. Great question. My top three areas of priorities. One is safety, ensuring a safe environment for students to learn, but also for teachers to teach. Using data and best practices and research to evaluate our programs and curricula. And lastly, preparing our students for the future of work. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says that within the next handful of years, within the next decade or so, the top three job categories are going to be in the green industry, data science, and healthcare being the largest one. And I think if we don't, as a community and as a school district, prepare our students for the growth in these industries, we are doing them a disservice. Thank you.
Thank you. Ebony?
Based on my background in contracts and public policy, my focus would be policy. I would evaluate existing policies, contracts, and procedures to determine if they are accessible. I mean, if they are effective and if they're accessible to the community. I would implement better policies for all students and administrators and board members to follow. And I would also conduct program evaluations. Since this is a significant issue in the district, we must establish a policy for consistently reviewing programs, positions, services, and resources to determine if they're cost effective and if they're contributing to student success. And if they're not, we need to repurpose those funds accordingly.
Thank you. Rolandra?
Several areas that I definitely want to focus in. I'm huge about community and parent engagement, figuring out what our parents need so that they can help the students. And not only that, student engagement also. I want our district and our students to be excited about coming to school. So how do we look at that? Let's talk to the students and see what their needs are to get them excited about learning all over again. Then the safety. We know when kids feel safe, they can learn. When teachers feel safe, they can teach. So we need to figure out what we need, evaluate some things to make sure everyone is good when they get into our schools. And then I am another big advocate about allocating resources properly. As a small business owner, I spend a lot of time reevaluating how I do things. And I think our school district needs to spend more time doing that.
Thank you. Nicole?
Mental health and trauma-informed training is definitely one of my priorities, as well as a diversity post-high school of options. So I did not take the traditional four-year college pathway. I'm in college now. And so I really am interested in getting more involved with Trenton Community College, career and trades. We have a lot of amazing opportunities within our township, and we need to begin to collaborate and connect with these awesome opportunities to begin to train our youth who may not be a four-year university, may not be an option for them. I also believe in civic mentoring. We need to help our youth want to be engaged in our democracy. And so being able to mentor and provide options to those, in high school when they become voting age is very important to me also.
Thank you. Ebony, you're going to start this next question first. What is your assessment of the communication between the board and the community? Do you think it's good? Do you think it needs to be improved? What's your assessment of that aspect of board and community communication?
I think it has gotten better with HBO when they came to the board last year. And it's really improved with MOHIP. Now that we have a good superintendent who wants to engage in the community, who wants to work with the parents, I think, that's a step in the right direction. We have to have board members that are approachable, that who wants to communicate with people, who wants to talk to people. You need to see board members outside of the boardroom. You need to see them outside in the community. Things don't just happen in the boardroom. I mean, you got to be out there. You got to be approachable and personable so that people can and are feel good to approach you. So I think, once we get on that board, it'll be even better than it is now. And I think, we have a long ways to go, but we're going to get there. And as long as you are approachable and personable and communicative, I think that's a great step in the right direction.
Thank you. Rolandra?
I am huge about community and engaging with the community and talking with our community. Anybody who knows me, when they see me out, I'm speaking to everybody. And I feel as board members, we have to be that way. We have to be approachable. We can't attend events and don't expect for parents to walk up to us or community members to walk up to us. We have to be willing to talk. I remember when I first came into the district, and it wasn't easy as a parent, as of a freshman, to come in and feel like I couldn't talk to the people that I voted for and elected to represent me. So we have to do a whole lot better in making ourselves approachable, to be nice to people, and to listen, be willing to listen to the community, their concerns, and the things they're happy about that they're seeing that's taking place.
Thank you. Nicole?
Yes, communication is key. As I helped form a commission in my village I work in several locations within the community. We need to be accessible. We need to be approachable. We need to listen to all adults in the community, including our parents, including our students, including staff members and teachers. It's really that engagement and that communication that builds trust within the community, and that you listen. Being able to listen to anyone who would like to come and talk to you about the school district, whether they've been in it or not, whether they're a taxpayer or not, just being available and keeping those lines of communication open, and knowing that public comment is not a two-way conversation, that is the opportunity for the community to come and speak. And if a deeper dive is needed, then we can get that information and talk after the board meeting with that community member.
Thank you. Will?
Yes, so I believe that communication between the board and the community has improved with the with HBO becoming on the board and with the new superintendent. He is a strong advocate for community, and he has worked with and brought together school districts and the local community in the past. So he has a proven track record, and I'm excited to see him do that here at Proviso. And secondly, being a board member to me means being a public servant, right? And so you have to serve the public, and that means meeting the public where they are. And these could be at local events such as Villages Fall Fests, Pride events, car shows, showing up or creating listening events where we can have feedback and understand what parents, future parents, community members, and everyone else in the district has to say or wants to tell us. Thank you.
Thank you. Rolandra, you'll start this next question first. What are your priorities when it comes to school funding? Where should more money be allocated?
Money should be allocated where it's needed, just to be honest. We need to look and see where the money is needed. We have a lot of programs, a lot of events. We have a lot happening in our school district. And I really think it's part of an evaluation. The data, what is it showing we need to allocate more funds to? It may be in curriculum, it may be in other areas throughout the district, but we need to sit down and really look at the data and figure out, based on proven data, where we need to allocate and spend more funds.
Thank you. Nicole?
Yes. In speaking with teachers, the funding that has been not allocated to is our English language learners. I also see this as a tutor. I see them coming from Proviso and not having the support system that they need in learning English. I do know that they just approved for upcoming school year Flashlight 360, which will help our English language learners. So I think that that's really important to make sure that we're continuing to help those students also in special education, as well as our social work and mental health. Those are the three areas that I think need some focused funding that we should definitely evaluate. Even though we've heard from teachers, we should make sure that we're evaluating student need and that those are the resources that should be funded.
Thank you. Will?
Yes. So first, before funding is allocated, is evaluate, understand what currently is being funded and to what extent, and then identify gaps, right? Look at these needs-based gaps and use an equity-informed approach with teacher, student, and admin voice regarding where they see needs at, right? Because data doesn't data from the financial end only tells one story, right? We need qualitative voice and input from those who would be immediately and most affected by it to fully get our head around what would serve our unique population the best. And it could be, and I support more resources for English language learners and bilingual students. And it could mean resources and allocation of funds to a number of other programs, curricula, etc. Thank you.
Thank you. Ebony?
But I think we need to do our research. I echo my friends here, like research before you can make a decision on anything. Once that research is done, then you look at the gaps and see what we can do to resolve those gaps. I'm a big proponent of more mental health resources. But if the data and the research doesn't support that, we have to go with what the data and the research concludes. So I think that's it in a nutshell. We have to do what's best. We can't take a one size fits all approach. We have to see what our students need, and that can be different from high school to high school. We don't know until we do our research.
Thank you. Nicole, you'll start the next question. Let's see. How should special needs students be supported and ensured that they have equitable access to education?
For me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, we need to evaluate what their needs are. I would hope that this would have happened in the feeder schools, so that we're getting them as freshmen, knowing what their needs are. So early intervention and understanding what those students need. When they're in high school, it's a matter of making sure that they're partnered with the staff that can help them and guide them into success post high school. And so really having those supports and ensuring that their needs are being met, and that if not, then we partner with our West 40. So West 40 is an intermediary that will also help, with services that we may not have in-house. So identifying what do we have in-house, what could we get in-house, and what do we need to outsource. But just having that early intervention when they enter the high school career.
Thank you. Will?
Yes, my answer is gonna sound very similar to my previous answer. Evaluate and I identify the gaps. Equity means unequal, right? Equity means giving, in regards to education, supporting every student with what they need, not supporting every student similarly, right? And in regards to special needs students, that means a wide variety and multifaceted type of support. And it would look different for most students, right? Special needs isn't a one size all fits box. Each student has unique needs, and so that means unique and specific resources for each student. And tying that back to the feeder schools, communicating and implementing uniform services and responses to ensure that there's a continuation of the supports from the feeder school to the high school, or identifying the gaps that occurred at the feeder school so that they will receive them at the high school level. Thank you.
Thank you. Ebony?
Since MOHIP has started working with the feeder schools, the ideal situation it would be is when these students get to high school, we already know what they need. The gaps have already been identified. And in addition to identifying the gaps, then we already have something set up when they get there in their freshman year that would provide an inclusive and supportive learning environment. So I think the communication needs to start at the feeder school. And as we transfer this information, as we transfer this data by freshman year, then we should be equipped to provide that student what that student needs to be successful in high school.
Thank you. Rolandra?
I think the transition from the feeder schools to the high schools is a big part of the puzzle that I think our schools are missing. During the IEP evaluations, I think I mean, and I don't know as far as state requirements and what they say, but I really would love to see um, that being combined their eighth grade year. So when they have the IEP meeting, that the high school is in on it some type of way to see what is actually needed, and what resources that we may not have. So by the time they actually get there, we actually have those resources. Reaching out to our community and making sure that they know what we need in our schools. I believe Proviso has a wealth of knowledge actually in our community, and we need to reach out and grab that. So really merging with the parent also, and because the parent knows their children and they can work with the feeder school and the high school to make sure needs are met.
Thank you. Will you start this next question first? What are the challenges of balancing the needs of 3 building locations? Proviso Township has 3 buildings where a couple of the other neighboring communities only have 1 high school to deal with. As a board member, what do you think the challenges are for fulfilling the needs of all 3 of those buildings with their staff and with their students being unique in some ways?
Thank you. I was just writing the question down. Yeah.
It's okay. It's a long one.
Yeah, no worries. So in regards to the needs of the 3 buildings, I can't say specifically what I believe the challenges would be because I haven't, and then this is the researcher in me, right? To understand these needs, what I would want to do is use a mixed methods type of research to ask them through surveys or through other admin data, as well as get student, staff, admin, and teacher voice as to what the challenges they face, right? Use all of that data, synthesize it and analyze it to understand and then provide recommendations or provide steps to ideally improve or mitigate the challenges that each of the 3 different buildings uniquely face. Thank you.
Thank you. Ebony?
I think I agree with Will. You need to look at all of the data, and the superintendent needs to work with all 3 principals at each of the schools. And the data could look different from one school to the next. As I said earlier, we can't take this one size fit approach, and different schools may have different needs depending on the student population. But I think if we look at the data and then also work with all 3 principals, actually all of them administrators at all of the schools, and get feedback from the teachers and look at that data as a whole, and then you kind of sparse out what each school needs. I think that's the best approach.
Thank you. Rolandra?
So every school is different. And when I think about the schools and their needs, I think about Mohib being a parent, and he has three children. And we know every child, of course, is unique. So every school is unique. One school may have an attendance concern. Another school may have some extra mental health concerns. Every school is going to be different. I visited all 3 schools over the last 4 years, and they are all very, very different. So we need to evaluate and look at each one. You know, meeting with the teachers and the staff at each school separately, because what the staff at West needs is different from what the staff at East needs. Curriculum that is being used at PMSA may not be the same curriculum that the East students need. So we need to evaluate each school separately and meet them where they are and give them the resources they need.
Thank you. Nicole?
As my friends have said, specifically, they'll need to be evaluated between the three schools. Broadly, policies should be implemented equitably and equally across all three schools. I think there's been a challenge between specific policies maybe not being implemented or administered the same between them. Also, because PMSA does not have sports, they attend sporting events or are part of the extracurricular activities at either East or West, and there is no common calendar of all three schools. So those are two of the areas that I think I see currently as challenges. But as far as specifically for each individual school, we will definitely need to evaluate those and figure out where the gaps are. But we really should have a district-wide calendar that brings all three schools together on a cohesive platform.
Thank you. Ebony, I think this will be the last question for you guys tonight. What is your approach to handling disagreements or conflict on the board? How would you mediate or solve any time that there are conflicts or disagreements on the board?
That's a really good question. I think first off, you have to remain professional. I believe that the board sets the standard. They set the precedent. And if the board members can't handle conflict, how do they expect the students to handle conflict? How do they expect the parents to handle conflict? We are an example for our families, our children, our community, because we are the people that was elected into this position. And I think we should always maintain professionalism, decorum, respect, and integrity when we have these meetings. I know that my slate, we're all friends, we all like each other, but I know realistically, we are not going to align all the time. And that's okay. But you have to respect other people's opinions. You have to respect other people's experiences, and you have to be kind to people. And that's just like on your job at work. You wouldn't go off on your supervisor because they made you mad. You have to have some level of decorum. And I think, and on that board, I would always maintain decorum and professionalism, and I will treat my board members with respect.
Thank you. Rolandra?
Respect one another's thoughts, opinions, and feelings. We are all human beings and we're adults, and we have to behave accordingly. I don't believe in the public antics and all of that, the rhetoric that lets our community see that we may not be on one accord right now. We need to keep that behind closed doors so we can figure out what's going on. We need to be professional because it starts at the top and it trickles down. If they see division at the top, the division can trickle down into our schools and in our community, and we don't want that. So be respectful and listen. Be willing to listen. I'm here to tell my fellow board members, I'm not going to get it right all the time, but I want you to hold me accountable and be transparent with me and where I can learn and grow. So be respectful and act as an adult.
Thank you. Nicole?
Yes, respect. We are all equals. My vote is not any more or less important than anybody else's. I will always admit when I am wrong or make a mistake. I love to gather the ideas, so I love to hear differing opinions. I like to make an informed decision, and so having somebody that is, has a disagreement with me allows me to listen and hear a different perspective. So I like disagreements in terms of being able to hear another perspective. I like to problem solve and figure out what the root cause of things are. Um, and we are the examples. If we cannot respect each other on the board, then how can we expect our staff and teachers and students to respect each other? So we need to be that example that we want the district to be.
Thank you. Will?
Yes, echoing all my friends, mutual respect, right? The board leads by example. We're all there to support students, right? Keeping that in mind should be our key focus. And when disagreements happen, right, I assume my approach would be like it at work. In the research field, a lot of us researchers and scientists, we don't agree on the best approach, the best method, the best outcome measure, etc. Right? And when settling disagreements, we listen, we hear, we understand. Then we discuss, and keeping our student-oriented goals in mind, we work together and co-create for the best solution possible. And that's what I would endeavor to bring to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to do closing statements now. Rolandra, you'll start them off.
Peggy, we do have a couple of questions that came in on the chat, if we have time for those.
I do.
I'm happy to.
I'm going to say I do not see them. We're going to go with the closing statements then.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the candidates have done a great job in answering these questions. And I think the questions have been a wide-ranging variety. So I think we're going to keep it at this level right now.
Absolutely.
So Nicole, that you're next on the closing statements.
Do I go? Is it on me?
Roland, yes, I'm sorry. Rolandra,
Okay.
you're starting off first. Yes, sorry.
Okay. So I'm excited to see, no, I'm not to see, but I'm excited for where Proviso high schools are going. This has been an amazing journey. And I want to take my skills and my knowledge and bring it to the board to contribute to the change that's happening in our community. Our schools deserve to be safe. They deserve for resources to be allocated. The community and the students and the parents deserve to have proper communication. So as the election winds down, please take the time and do your research and take a look at what we have to offer. I have 20 years of experience in the finance and mortgage industry, and I'm a small business owner. I'm on a team of amazing individuals, and we all should be on there so we can continue to move the district forward. I'm excited to work for the board, ready to roll my sleeves up and get started day one.
Thank you. Nicole?
Yes, as a student and a parent of a 6-year-old, I know I have some time, but I not only fight for my own child, but I fight for all our children who deserve a diversity of pathways post high school, and to have their high school career be what they need. That we're allocating resources appropriately, that we are all working together towards a common goal that is student focused, that we are looking at career opportunities, trade opportunities, especially in the green industry and horticulture, which is what I'm a student for currently at Triton. Community college is such a great place to save money and get a quality education, and we really need to support these local resources. So I look forward to being part of this journey and growing together. And thank you so much for this time today.
Thank you. Will?
Yes. Thank you, League of Women Voters, first off, for the opportunity to share our vision for Proviso. I, along with my friends on our Proviso 209 United slate, Rolandra, Ebony, and Nicole, we're running for the school board because we believe every student deserves a safe, inclusive environment where decisions are guided by what works, not politics, real data and real research. As a parent with two young children who will attend the Proviso schools, I care deeply about the future of this district, right? I'm an immigrant and a former teacher and a national education researcher. I bring a broad perspective and keep a deep commitment to student success. Currently, I work every day to help schools across the country make smarter, more equitable decisions. And I want to do the same with Proviso alongside my friends in our slate. So we as a slate, we know how to build consensus, we know how to work through differences and keep students at the center of every conversation. With your support and vote, we will renew how we think about education in Proviso. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ebony?
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having us. My background in contracts and policy prepared me for this moment. It prepared me for this role on the board. I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and get to work, renegotiate some of those contracts, repurpose some of those funds. I believe that the board should consist of active parents. I'm an active parent in the community. On any given day, you'll see me at Memorial Park District or Eisenhower Park District because my daughter is a member of the Memorial Park Spartan cheerleaders and have been for years. So you'll see me outside of the boardroom, which I think is very important. This whole slate, we are all active parents who have kids in the school system. So we have skin in the game. As parents, we want the very best education for our children. Therefore, it's essential that these schools are improved. Do your research. Ask yourselves, are the schools worse now than before? And if the answer is yes, we can't keep electing the same people for the same positions and expecting different results. We are endorsed by the Proviso Teachers Union. The teachers are the ones on the front line who have the biggest responsibility of educating our children. And that's really the only endorsement that we need. It's time for a change. This slate is the change that we need in our community and that our students can no longer be without. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank you guys for showing up tonight. There are 8 candidates running for 4 open spots. All candidates were invited to this candidate forum. These are the 4 candidates that chose to participate, just so everybody knows. And I want to remind you that a recording of this event will be on our website. So if you could not attend it in real time, you can certainly go to LWV.LWVOPRF.org, and there will be a recording there. And I think the library will also have it on their website, a recording. So you can share that with family and friends to make sure that they're making informed decisions. Early voting has started already. It started yesterday and will go on until Election Day, Tuesday, April 1st. If you need any more election information, you can go to our website at LWVOPRF.org. And again, please remind your friends and neighbors and relatives to vote. Local elections are important, okay? And it starts at the local level, and then it should work its way up. It shouldn't start at the top and work its way down. So I thank you all again. I think you guys did a marvelous job. I liked meeting you all. Thank you very much. And have a rest of your good evening. And I thank all the audience for participating tonight also. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much.
Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Have a good
All right.
evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.